All right, well, let's continue this thing. Man, if you saw the Fight Laugh Feast podcast that I did on this last section, you know that I was a little bit speechless. But I've been thinking about this, and what's so amazing about this is that Eric Mason's getting all pissed off because he doesn't understand how property values work and how flipping houses works and stuff like that. He's very ignorant, clearly, about that, so he's just moving his hands very aggressively and getting all uppity. But let's think a few steps down the road, right? Because he thinks the problem is that people were flipping houses, and so and that's somehow extortion or robbing or something like that. But let's just for a second think what's going to happen, right? Let's say you get the reparations, right? And you think that's going to solve the issue, but the thing is, like, that's actually not what the issue is. The issue that he's describing is ignorance, right? And so if you don't know what your house is worth, or you don't know how to flip a house or to increase the value of a house or a neighborhood or whatever it is, the money's actually not going to fix that. That money's going to be back in the hands of the people who do know very quickly. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, you're going to get the stacks, you're going to get the drip and all that kind of stuff. And then the people who actually know what they're doing with real estate and property values and stuff like that, it's just gonna delay, what they're gonna do anyway. They're gonna get that property one way or the other, because you haven't actually solved the ignorance problem there. You haven't solved anything except the money problem, and so it's just it's just amazing to me that he's getting so angry about something he doesn't understand, and the solutions like counseling or free tuition, none of that is going to actually help the issue here. And so I just fail to see, really how he's connecting this. And plus, none of this is biblical in any way. This is just what it is it's rhetoric from socialists, from Marxists, from people who are trying to change this country fundamentally into something that is completely disconnected from the biblical view of economics and values and prices and stuff like that. It's very difficult to watch, because on the one hand, like, it's like, could he really be this stupid? And on the other hand, I'm like, I don't think he's that stupid. But maybe he is. I don't know. Like, I don't really know how hard to come at him here. But, listen, I'm just going to respond in kind. He's getting aggressive, so I'll get aggressive. You know what I mean? That's how it's going to work. But anyway, let's just continue to see how far we can get, and we will go from there.
Inequities, mass incarceration, imbalanced educational funding. It's too much to walk through these stats. School to prison pipeline, kids being handcuffed at 8 years old for something they should have got detention for, which criminalizes their mind and prepares them to learn how to get used to being in handcuffs. Framing black people, shipping drugs. In the 80s, they shipped drugs into our community. How in the heck does drugs come from Colombia? Black people don't own no daggone planes. We don't own the freight yards. How are we going to get stuff on freights?
Yeah, it comes through Mexico. The Mexicans do it. But the thing is, like, I don't know if you've watched the movie, Boys in the Hood. This is the speech from Boys in the Hood. This isn't coming from the Bible. You know what I mean? This isn't coming from the Bible. This is coming from Boys in the Hood. This is a Spike Lee joint. You know what I mean? Like, he said it almost in the exact way that the father in Boys in the Hood said it. We don't own no planes. Like, it's just the same thing. This is not a biblical case for reparations. This is a Boys in the Hood, Spike Lee joint, Sean King case. Ta-Nehisi Coates, however you pronounce his name. Vox.com, that's what this is. This is the Vox.com case for biblical reparations, right? I mean, okay, you didn't bring the cocaine from Colombia, but now it's here, and, so and look, whites and blacks use it. There's not a black issue only, right? So who cares who brought it? It's here. You don't have to use it. you know what I mean? Like, who cares? He's like, well, he should have got detention for that. He should have got detention. He's in jail. And it's like, well, yeah, but white people go to jail too. White people get handcuffed too. Like, my goodness gracious. I mean, if this proves the case of reparations, then shouldn't white people get reparations too? What about Latinos? What about brown, man? You leave brown out a lot. That's pretty racist, man. I think brown people are actually discriminated against more because we're just left out of these conversations completely.
We don't own that. How does it get into this country? Border Patrol. How did it happen?
Is he making the case for a border wall? Because I thought that was racist. But the thing is, like, okay, how did it happen? How did it happen? Okay, fine. Figure it out. I'm okay with that. Figure it out. But the thing is, what does this have to do with black people or white people or anybody using it? You don't have to use it just because it's here. Fine. No black person has ever smuggled cocaine into the country. Let's just go with it. No black person has ever smuggled cocaine into the country. So what? Right? So what? And he makes it seem like nothing's ever done to stop it, right? Like, no one's ever been arrested trying to smuggle drugs into this country. Never. It's never happened. It's never actually happened. And if the Border Patrol doesn't catch 100% of the people that are smuggling drugs into the country, then there must be racist. Is that the kind of thing that you're trying to prove here? Like, that's the thing. Like, you hear this all the time. Like, we'll stop protesting when black people stop dying. Well, that's just basically saying, okay, we're going to protest forever. There's always going to be. It's not going to be 100%. You're never going to be able to stop 100% of the deaths, 100% of everything. Like, it's just an unrealistic, ridiculous standard. So, okay, so if drugs come into the country, we don't stop 100% of them, then I guess we hate black people or something like that. This is just stupid. This is stupid, guys. This is thinking like a child. This is not how a Christian ought to think. This is stupid.
If you look under those administrations in the 80s, that administration, that's how it got into this country. Loan discrimination, police brutality, and the effects of slavery still don't exist to black people today. So what do we do? What are some ways, what are some types of reparation that blacks need? All
right, so this is where he messed up, because you're not supposed to really go into the details, because it's much better to not go into the details about what blacks should get, because then you could always ask for more, right? So theoretically, if we meet all of his demands here, he's trying to extort us. If we meet all his demands here as a country, then he would have to shut his mouth for the rest of time. He obviously won't, because a covetous heart never is satisfied. That's just how it works. But this is why most people don't go into the specifics here. He done messed up, if you know what I mean.
I'm glad you asked.
I'm glad I asked too.
The type of reparations that we need to be comprehensive to fit. This is just a short list of things that I've mentioned.
Yeah, let's see how much of this is biblical, right? Because this is the biblical case for reparations, right? So let's see how much of what he's about to say has any connection to reality in the Bible whatsoever. Let's just see. Let's keep track.
I know my historians and my sociologists and my psychologists and my cultural anthropologists will let me know more. But
there he goes. So he's keeping the door open for more. It's always, how much do you want? It's just a little bit more. Just more. That's what I want. I want more. This is how a covetous heart, it's not really that funny, actually. This is how a covetous heart works. It's always looking for more stuff. He's not going to ever limit himself. He wants $200 million, $200 trillion. If you ever do it, it's not enough, $300 trillion. You know what I mean? This is just how it works. It's always going to be more. There's always going to be more stuff. He just wants it all. This is covetousness, man. If you can't see how covetous this is, it's sad, man. It's really sad.
These are a few things that, remember, reparations has to be comprehensive because the offenses were everything from emotional to economic.
So remember what we said in the last episode. This is actually not from the Bible, because he admitted that the Bible only talks about money, stacks, goods, livestock, stuff like that. And so he's saying it has to be comprehensive because the emotional damage was comprehensive. Where does that come from the Bible? Show me anything that would say that that's what we have to do with reparations. Nothing. He's making this stuff up. He's making this up as he goes along. This is the word of Eric Mason, Sean King, Vox.com, Ta-Nehisi Coates, the dude from Boys in the Hood. This is not the word of the Lord. How dare he stand behind a pulpit and pretend like this is the word of the Lord? This is taking the Lord's name in vain. This is blasphemous.
Right? And so the gospel demands that we do that. And so, number one, public confession and repentance for active and complicit role in destroying black people. I think the church needs to start this off.
Yeah, the church needs to start this off. So why don't you start? Because you're in the church, right? Why don't you apologize, Eric, for all of the trauma that you inflicted on the African slaves in the slave trade? Why don't you start? because you're a Christian, right? You're in the church. That's your people, right? So why don't you start with the payments as well?
The church needs to do it, just as Nehemiah did in his day, praying and asking for forgiveness of sins he didn't commit specifically but benefited off of, and even in some ways have been actively involved today in. Admitting that racial injustice still exists and needs to be addressed. This is reparations. It has to be. Admitting slavery still affects us. The need for psychological reparations. You need to pay for counseling for us. We need help. The need for economic reparations. We need our economists to help build that out so it's restorative and not just us throwing money at people, right? Having a land initiative and housing initiative. Educational reparations, investing what has lacked in economics in schools, in black communities. I mean, you go to an area outside of Philadelphia, they have a meteorologist lab there that's so nice that that one of the major channel networks use their meteorologist studio as a way to do their meteorologist stuff to be able to put on TV. And you come to some black schools in our area and we don't even have a science program. Reparations. I say this, HBCUs funded for the next 200 years. Next 200 years.
Oh, that one got me. Just a few things. There's a couple things.
And right after that, you ain't get this, did you? Descendants of slaves not paying for college for 200 years. Nobody. And canceling every black person's student loan debt. And repaying blacks who paid for student loans. Reparations. Listen, reparations.
So far, he's batting a 0 for biblical solutions here. I've got biblical solutions for some of this stuff, but y'all ain't ready for that. Y'all ain't ready for that.
In telling the history properly. In other words, one of the reparations that would be helpful for this country is for it telling the real American story. That's a huge reparations because people won't look crazy when we bring up our racial past. I would love to see this. Black churches having faith-based funding to help blacks build black institutions in the black community. Because the black church has always been the mainstay of helping black people do that for the last 250 years. And I can go on and on and on and on and on and on. But that's why we need reparations. We need reparations to repair. We're not asking for a handout. This is stuff black people have built this country from the beginning.
You are literally asking for a handout. You're asking for money. You're asking for financial advisors, everything free. So this is all different forms of money. So you're asking for cash. That's the first form. You're asking for financial advisors and economists. You're asking for counselors, psychological, sociological counselors. You're asking for funding for black schools for 200 years. You're asking for tuition reimbursement for 200 years. You're asking for student debt refunding for 200 years. You're asking for money for your churches. You're asking for the school system to be funded probably for 200 years. Why not? 300 years. Let's just go 300 years. You're asking for a handout. That's what this is. This is a handout. You're not asking for charity. You're asking for not charity. You're not asking for restitution because none of this comes from the Bible. You're literally asking for a handout and then just saying it's not a handout, but it most definitively is a handout. And this is one of the most insane lists of things I've ever heard in my entire life. Eric Mason, dude, you might need to take a break, man. I think you might be having a breakdown here. You might be having a breakdown. You need to take a step back here for a second because none of this that you've talked about comes from the Bible. None of it. None of it. But you're pretending like it does. And I'm sure you could go on and on and on and on, because a covetous heart is never satisfied. So of course you could go on and on and on and on. There's no limit to the amount of coveting that you can do when you've been given over to it. Given over to it to such a degree that you will preach a sermon pretending for it to be the words of God, all about covetousness. You're telling people that their covetousness is okay, and you're teaching them to want more, and you're laughing about it. That's. I mean, I don't. If that's not given over, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. And I say this as a person who probably, if I pushed, would stand to collect some of this stuff, because you wouldn't have to go too far in my family tree to see the slave ancestors, right? You wouldn't have to go too far in my family tree to see the slave ancestors. I could probably get some of this stuff. You need to repent, man. You need to repent. This is pretty unbelievable. Here's my plan. You want to know what my plan for reparations is? My plan is to go back and to take a look at every law, every department, every system, every institution that we have in this country, and make sure that we have biblical warrant for it. So number one, we should immediately disband the Department of Education, and public schools should not exist. So that's number one, because that'll fix a lot of problems, because now you can teach your own kids whatever history you want, whether it's the fake, phony, baloney social justice history or the real history. You can teach them whatever you want. That'll solve that problem, right? Get rid of all welfare programs, because all welfare programs breed more dependence. We don't want more dependence, so get rid of it. Get rid of it. It's not in the Bible. Cancel it. Cancel most taxes. Most taxes should be canceled immediately. That will allow business owners, black business owners and white business owners, to invest more in themselves, more in their business. It lowers the bar for licensures and stuff like that. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. All that stuff, get rid of it. No free counseling. That's insane. If you want counseling, go to the church. They'll counsel you according to biblical principles, right? That's what you get. You get Bible counseling. You don't get secular, nonsense counseling. None of that. We got charity for people who are willing to work. We got nothing for people who are unwilling to work. Nothing. We should eliminate the school to prison pipeline in two ways. Number one, we're going to eliminate the schools. And two, we're going to eliminate prisons, because prisons are unbiblical. So what we should do instantly is to replace prison system with restitution-based criminal punishment. If you steal, you give back and then some. If you kill, you get executed. If you rape, you get executed. If you kidnap, you get executed. There you go. So that's the system. I would suggest we should eliminate drug laws. But the thing is, there shouldn't be any leniency for, hey, I was on drugs and so I stole, or hey, I was on drugs and so I killed. No, it doesn't matter if you were high out of your mind and you killed someone on accident or whatever. Like, you're going to get the penalty for killing. That's what's going to happen. There's my plan. Let's repair this, because our system is broken. I agree with you. Let's repair it according to God's standards, not according to Vox.com. Okay, not according to Vox.com. But y'all not ready for that. Y'all not ready for that. Anyway, I'm going to stop right there. This is about 20 minutes long. We're not finished. We got about 4 minutes left, so we'll have to do one more of these videos. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.